Welcome back to the Lounge by Travify. I'm Stephanie Grice, and today we're diving into a topic that can shape your entire travel business, which is choosing the right host agency. So in this episode, we're going to break down what hosts actually do for advisors. Also, though, what they're not designed to do, common misunderstandings around fees, commission splits, but also why long-term success has far more to do with fit, expectations, and how you build your business. So not just those numbers on paper. Now, to help me unpack this, I've brought on one of the best. I am joined by Shayna Zand, who's managing director at Host Agency Reviews, who's one of the most trusted resources in our industry. So welcome to the lounge. So excited to have you here with us today, especially on this topic. I mean, I really couldn't have picked anyone better.
Oh, thank you. And no pressure, right?
No
Feeling good.
pressure
I'm
on
not
that.
nervous at all. It's good.
No,
Thank you.
it's amazing. And I just have to say before I dive in that Host Agency Reviews, I mean, we've been working closely. We love your team and you guys. And the stuff that you do is really, really helpful. So that's why I'm really excited for this, because I think there's just a lot to unpack here.
Oh, thank you. Well, right back at you.
Yeah, so cool. Well, I'll get into this conversation because I know we've got a lot to talk about here. And I do just want to preface here, before we jump entirely in, if you're listening and you're thinking, wait a minute, I still am not sure if I know exactly what a host agency is, that's okay. You are in the right place right now. And there's seriously so many terms and organizations in the industry, and it can get confusing really fast. So Shayna, let's start with the basics. What is a host agency and what are they designed to do for advisors?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do present a lot on, what is a host agency within the industry. So if you're somebody, especially that's, a travel advisor starting your travel agency and you don't know what a host is, let me tell you, I have presented in front of suppliers, in front of tourism boards that still don't understand it. So you are not alone. The best way I describe a host to make it really easy is think about a host agency like a club, right? A club that you join, you pay a fee, a membership fee to be a member of this club. And with that, you get all the benefits of being a member of this club is the easiest way to think about it from a very high level. But what do they actually provide for you when you become a member of this host agency or this club is, I think the biggest thing is they help provide business infrastructure. And what I mean by that is accreditation. So they allow you to actually legally sell travel, which is incredibly important. So you get your accreditation through them, which is wonderful. Supplier relationships. So when I say suppliers, I mean cruise lines, tour operators, hotels, car rental companies, everyone that supplies travel, commissions. That's how we make money. So super important. Commission levels, they have negotiated rates, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later, but higher rates negotiated for you on your behalf when you book the supplier's products. And a lot of back office support as well. They offer a lot of education, which is incredibly important. Every industry is always evolving, travel one included. Lots of training. And my favorite is community. If you own your own business and it's a small business, a travel agency, sometimes that can feel isolating. But now, because you're a member of this host agency, this club, you now have a community of other travel agencies and other travel advisors that, you get to speak to and that you get to what's going well, what's not going well, and get advice from. Everyone in this industry loves to share, which is one of the most beautiful things. They also give you access to things like technology, marketing tools, the preferred supplier program, so those commission levels. So that's always something you get to learn from them. They kind of act like a partner, if you will, in business. But remember that they are not your employer. They're supporting your growth while you kind of run your own business. We do have an article, and I know we'll link to a bunch of resources at the end. And one of those resources would be top 10 benefits to using a host agency. So you can kind of take a look at what we believe are top 10 reasons why you would want to be a part of a host. But a lot of what I kind of said is included in there. We just go into even more detail. So, yeah.
Nice. I love that. Well, a host agency sounds pretty nice, I have to say. Especially some of those things are like to legally sell. I mean, that's a big one right there. And honestly, when I first entered the industry as well, actually, even maybe a year or two in, I still didn't understand. I was like, oh, wait, so not anybody can just go sell. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's so much to it. So with that, though, host agency sounds amazing and like really, really great. But what also is it not designed to do? Because I think it's important to look at that lens too.
Absolutely. I think you need to understand what they do, what they don't do to make sure that whichever host you pick, or if you choose to work with a host, that it's the right fit for your business. They are not there to build your client list or to market your business for you. You are your own brand, your own business. A lot of them have lead programs where they'll hand over potential new leads to you, but it is your job to work those leads to help turn them into clients and also to build your brand and your business, to the masses. They do not manage the day-to-day operations of your business, right? And they do not make business decisions on your behalf. Again, putting emphasis on this is your business. You are joining a host to help you, to support you, but not to run the day-to-day of your business. You are still an independent contractor. They do not replace the needs for sales skills, consistency, personal accountability. Again, you're still running your small business. I say this with all the love. They do not magically make an inactive advisor profitable, right? They give you all the tools to be able to do this. It's like anything else. You're given the tools. If you choose not to use them, that is your decision. That is on you. Every host in their own way. And the things that the larger hosts, the smaller hosts offer, you'll determine which one's the best fit for you. If you want more autonomy, you want more hand holding, there's hosts out there for everybody, but you have to use the tools that they provide. That's why they provide them. That's also why you pay to be a member. So take advantage of all of those things.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful to know. And I like what you said earlier about it's not that your employer, it's, they're there. So I think that's a really good way to put that too. But
Yeah.
one thing too is I want to talk about the money side for a minute because this is
Yep.
where I know sometimes assumptions can get made just with host agencies. So what do advisors often misunderstand about fees and splits and long-term earning potential with host
Yeah,
agencies?
absolutely. So first, I'll talk about fees in terms of fees to be a member of a host. The fees typically are not overly high for what you're receiving from the host. And I think that that's something, either there's monthly or annual, just depends on the host that you're working with. Those fees that you pay to the host on an annual basis fund things like education, support, tech, these negotiated supplier benefits. For example, take Travify, right? Travify has a lot of agreements with different hosts out there, right? And these hosts create these agreements to help provide you with a tool like Travify at a rate that is lower than what you would see online, right? And that is the work of Travify and the host working together. That's just one example of how suppliers work with them. And that doing that work and the people who do that for you, that's, part of your fees that you pay to the host. When we talk about fees in terms of you as a travel advisor charging a fee to your clients, look at it almost in the same regard, right? You're paying a fee to the host, they are providing a service for you. You are charging a fee to your clients for a service that you are providing to your client. I find a lot of travel advisors are very scared of charging fees. They feel like they're going to lose clients. A lot of advisors, what they do is put together a one pager or have a paragraph to explain what the fee is and why they charge it. I will tell you that from our annual report that we do every year, advisors who charge fees, they say on average that makes up 20% of their income. So it's not insignificant, right? And all who say that they charge them would never go back to not charging. And it's not about charging thousands and thousands of dollars, but it's about charging a fair fee for the service you're providing. I know my travel advisor charges a fee that I use, and I don't even question it because I know what she's doing for me. It doesn't even faze me, right? Remember, you're worth it, right? So charging that fee is okay. So that's kind of both sides of the fees. Commissions, this one's always my fun one because I feel like people just see the number and that's what they look at. Host agencies offer or they do a commission split. So they take a portion of the commission for every booking that you make. So commission splits are typically anywhere from a 60-40. So you keep 60, they keep 40 to a complete 100%, where you as the advisor keep 100%. Typically, most start at the 70-30 mark. So you keep 70, they take 30. And I think people get very shell shocked by this. But think about it this way. I'm coming from I worked on the supplier side for over 10 years. And if you came to me as an independent advisor, you would make the baseline commission that we offer all independent advisors. And it's not to say it's not a good commission, but that's what you get. If you work with a host agency, they have negotiated rates with preferred suppliers. So suppliers that they've vetted, ones they feel comfortable with, and ones that they believe are a great fit for their advisors. Also note, advisors are a big reason why suppliers come on preferred because advisors say, oh, we book this cruise line all the time. We should have a contract with them. So hosts listen to that as well, very heavily. But the commission levels between booking on your own independently and if you're a member of a host agency are very different. So even if you're, say, giving away 30% to your host, you are still likely making more keeping 70% than if you're going independent with that supplier. And I think that that's something to understand as well. Also, a lot of hosts have thresholds. So if you hit certain sales levels, your split changes. So that's something to understand, asking questions to the host to understand that you're not stuck at a certain commission split forever, right? As your business grows, the host understands that and you can move to an 80-20 or a 90-10 split. So you're not at one split for the entirety of you being with that host. So something to consider as well. One big point I want to make is you, as an advisor, and especially running your own business, and as somebody who also runs their business, you underestimate how much support and time savings are worth financially, right? Spending some money to help you save some time and the support that you get from these hosts is absolutely incredible. It is worth the money. I know in the resources, we're going to have two different guides. One that we have, it's about charging fees, and one that we have about commission splits. They're long form articles, so they really go in depth again. So we'll share those in the resources as well.
That's amazing. See, everyone listening, what would we do without host agency reviews? I just, like it's crazy because there's so
What would you do
much to
without
it.
us?
I don't know. It would be crazy. And then those resources are, they're free to check
Yes.
out and do it. So just have to say thank you on that really quick because that is really there's just so much and it probably sounds overwhelming, but then when you can break it down and listen like you are talking now, that helps so much. I feel like I'm learning stuff right now too. I love it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And you know what? The hosts are a big part of this too. They support a lot of what we do so that we can have this be a completely free of charge platform for advisors to do research. And they really support us from an unbiased perspective. So information that they give us, support, details. They write a lot of blog posts for us as well, come from just wanting to educate and give you information to make the right decision, whether it's their host or a different one. That's kind of the angle. I mean, we make sure that they come from, but they do it themselves anyway. So it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I have another question for you here, and this is kind of a big one, I think, is what's really interesting sometimes with host agencies is you can have two advisors join the same host and have totally different experiences, which also shout out. That's why host agency reviews is nice because you can see the reviews. But what, in your opinion, though, what have you seen is really what separates those advisors who thrive at a host agency compared to those who struggle at the exact same host?
So, a really big reason, this is honestly a really big reason that host agency reviews, and I know we'll mention at the end Host Week, our big event in a couple weeks, but that's why these came to be, was to educate you on one host is not the same as the next, right? They are all very different. And I know we're going to get into that too, but you know, thriving advisors, I find really use the tools, training, and the support that's available to them, right? You realize that you don't know everything and that continuous education. And I do training on the regular as well. And I've been in the industry for 15 years. I'm always learning. Things are always evolving. And so I find that those who thrive take advantage of those various tools. They also treat their business like a business, right? You have goals, you have systems, you follow through, right? Again, you are an independent contractor. This is your business. So you also run your business. And my most important thing is you ask questions. Ask a lot of questions, right? Show up and engage with the community. There are ways like during host week that we have in a couple weeks, it's virtual. The amount of questions we will get in the comments because thousands of you attend live is incredible. And it's not, you don't just wait for us or for the host or the supplier to answer. Your community of other advisors are also answering your questions. It's a beautiful thing. On our website, you can submit questions directly to the host, we also have our travel agency software. So Travify's up there as well. You can submit questions directly to them. for them to answer, right? Ask all the questions, right? All the questions that are important to you for running your business. Ask more than one host if you're looking for a host so that you can compare and contrast who fits best with your business. And I find that those are the ones who end up doing really well. I find struggling advisors very simply expect the host to do the work for them. So expect the host is there to support you, to give you the tools that you need to run your business. They're not there to run your business, right? So you have to you have to put in that effort. And so I find that those are the ones that struggle more often than not. Or that
Yeah.
you've chosen the wrong host, which I know we'll get into that conversation, but you've chosen the host
Yeah.
that's just not the right fit for you. And that happens a lot. So do not worry.
That's what I was gonna say is like, what if sometimes because I'm sure there's some people. I mean, there's just so many layers because you're building a business, like you said, and that's not
Yeah.
easy. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it. It's
Right.
and so it's challenging. But why does that host fit matter just as much as the tools and commission and all this stuff? Like, what are those things that sometimes it happens? You choose the wrong host. How can we maybe prevent that from possibly not happening?
Yeah, I think sometimes everyone looks at, well, they're host agencies, so they're the same.
Yeah.
And that could not be further from the truth. Every host has a different culture, has a different communication style, has different niche focuses. And I put a big asterisk next to that one because that one's super important, especially if, over 85% of advisors have a specific niche that they focus on versus being a generalist. Again, information from our report. And 93% of them say that they wouldn't change their niche. So that tells you when they get into a niche that that's where they want to stick. And different hosts have different philosophies. And so you want to make sure, also some advisors like to be more autonomous. Some want a little bit more handholding. Every host has a different kind of feel for those things. So advisors for me do better when the host aligns with where their business is at and their goals. When I mean where your business is at, some hosts are fantastic with brand new advisors. That's what they focus on. That's all they're looking to help train and move forward. There are some hosts that focus purely on experienced advisors. So they're more advanced kind of in what they provide to their advisor pool. Some are very niche focused, right? So you've got some smaller ones that focus on a specific niche. I will take myself as an example. I am an adventure travel girly through and through, right? I went to Uganda and Rwanda, did the gorilla trekking back in December. I've been to Antarctica. I do all the things. That's my style, right? And so I sell that without even selling it just because I love it so much. It's exciting to me. I can talk about what it is, what it isn't, because I've done so many of them. I also grew up in the adventure travel world. I know that there is a host, and specifically in Canada, being Canadian, that focuses purely on adventure travel. That's who their preferred suppliers are. That's all of their advisor members. That's doesn't mean that's all they sell, but that's their focus, right? That host would likely be one of the best fits for me because they focus on where I thrive, what I love to do, but also what I'm likely to sell and where I want my niche to be. So those are a few things to take a look at. And I think to understand the best host is not universal, right? The best host for one person is not necessarily the best host for the other. That's why we have a couple hundred profiles of different hosts, and you're going to see some of them that are incredibly large. You're going to see some that focus on cruise. You're going to see some that are really small. You're going to see a whole bunch of different ones, and it's important to, work through them, ask tons of questions. We do have from one of our host partners, Travel Planners International. Jen Lee wrote us a beautiful article about 5 things to consider when choosing a host. So I will share that in the resources as well. But again, you're going to find that it comes from just what you should consider, not why you should join TPI, but what you should consider when you're looking for a host, which is what we love. So we'll share that too.
Yeah, and I feel like when I started realizing, like, it was like the puzzle was coming together for me with hosts, it was really about a big one was, like, the suppliers, if you wanna focus in luxury or, things or, adventure, and they exist, and I think that's a really, really big one too, like, looking at what are the suppliers you wanna sell or you are selling, and then that one was just aha moment for me, had to share.
I totally agree. I think it's, like I said, 85% of travel advisors have a niche. And I find when you do have a niche, and again, your niche, you're not going to sell your niche 100% of the time typically. You're going to have referrals or clients that ask you for something a little bit different sometimes. Like, sometimes I want to do something that's not quite adventure travel. That's fine. But my advisor is still going to book that for me, even though she specializes in adventure. But when you have that, it also makes education and learning a lot more straightforward because you don't need to know everything and you can't. I don't know everything about this industry and I've been in it for 15 years, right? There's things I don't know about cruising or airlines or, different areas. I understand the basics, but, you're continuously learning. And so it's also that I don't want you to feel overwhelmed that you have to feel like you have to know everything about every destination, about every style of travel. Most of your hosts will have that information on hand. But if you want to be super niche focused, which there are such great smaller hosts for that, right? Then that's where you dive in and ask them some questions and hopefully one's the right fit for you.
Yeah. Well, I have a final question here for you, and you kind of already answered it a little bit, but I know that there's probably so much more that you can put onto that. Is if you could give advisors one piece of advice before choosing a host agency, what would it be? Like that one thing. Which is probably really hard to narrow down, but
It's so hard to narrow
yeah.
down. I would say don't ask what's my commission split. Ask
Mm.
how will this host help me grow, right? How will this host help support my business and my brand and what I want to do? you know, Again, a lot of them start around the same for the commission split, but that would not be my first question. Don't get me wrong, that would be a question I would ask, but that would not be my number one concern. If I can, I'm going to throw in a second one, which is talk to current advisors. Ask them what support actually looks like day to day, right? And a lot of times the host will introduce you to an advisor that has worked with them for a while so that you can understand what the day to day is like. Again, a lot of advisors like handholding, a lot really like autonomy, so it has to be what works for you. And all hosts do different things. So those would kind of be my one plus one piece of advice.
No, I love it. And a random question for you that I'm just thinking of is most hosts. So we're gonna be here for hours. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it.
There's so many questions on this, but for people doing like you're kind of like you're trying to find the best fit for you, which
Yeah.
does require a lot of research effort on your end. But can you do a lot of host agencies typically provide like you can schedule this call to talk to us, or like what does that normally look like? Like, or is it just all like figure it out on your own and then sign up and hope for the best?
No, not at all. Almost, I would say pretty much every host I know wants to have a call, wants to chat, wants to talk to you, right? As much as, the host wants to make sure you're a good fit for them, you want to make sure the host is a good fit for you, right? A lot of work goes into it's like bringing anyone in, like, when you're starting a new job, you want to make sure that both sides are a good fit, the employer and the employee. And even though this isn't that type of relationship, the host also wants to make sure that you're a good fit for their host agency as well. So that, at the end of the day, they want businesses to thrive. It's beneficial to them financially, but it's also beneficial to them for this industry as a whole. So they will always schedule times to call, meet with you. I'm going to put in a little I'm going to put in a little host week plug here. So in a week and a half, we do have our annual host week. I think it's our 6th or 7th one this year, which is exciting. We do them every year, last week of January. And they have different components to them. One of the biggest components that's during the middle of the day is what we call the meet the host and meet the consortia interviews. We have interviews with 38 hosts and 7 consortiums. That's pretty much almost all the consortia,
Yeah, you have like the whole spread. That's perfect.
right? And so you get to hear them all answer the exact same questions back to back throughout the week, which is wonderful because you get a feel not only for how they run their business, but who they are, their personalities, all of that. And you kind of get to listen to everyone. Again, this is totally complimentary to anyone who wants to attend. So like free of charge. And the hosts make that available to you complimentary, which is a beautiful thing. Travify will be there. On Tuesday, you guys are hosting a coffee spot. So they'll open up the day on Tuesday at, I think it's 11 a.m. Central Time. So they'll open up the day for an hour. You have all done it with us every year, and it's always such a fun time. So we have educational sessions. We have some great keynote speakers as well. So it's a really fun week, but it's a great way to look at these hosts back to back to back to back. And also, they're all members of a consortium, which is a much bigger club. So you can see what they're a member of and what those consortiums offer as well, which I think is a great way to take a look. But yes, Even on our website, the easiest way, you can submit the same question to 3 or 4 different hosts, see how they respond and see what you get a feel for, but they will always have a call with you because they wanna get to know you, and I think that that's important for you to do as well as an independent, travel agency or owner.
That's awesome. And how amazing that I know this is so as we're recording this, it'll be January 26th to the 30th, but everything we're talking about right now, just all your answers are going to happen during that time, which is really
Yeah.
cool. And it'll open up the doors to start listening and understanding, figuring out what questions you want to ask, diving in further. And then I do have to mention too, if someone's listening to this after that date, can they still access that content?
Absolutely. So we keep everything live on our YouTube channel. We actually, if you do want to know when certain things are, like during the day, we actually put together a whole document of like, this is the time that this interview started. This is the time that this interview started. We send it out. Even if you can't be there, I would recommend you register. Again, it's completely complimentary because then you'll get that document after the event so that you can go look up the things that you want, but we tell you exactly what time it starts. So it makes it a lot easier for you. And if you're registered, we also have, I think at this point, we have 7 different giveaways from different suppliers. So, like Intrepid Travel, a trip for 2, Colette's giving away a prize, Royal Caribbean's giving away a cruise. So, you'll automatically be entered to win one of those as well, even if you're not there live, because we know things come up. Life happens. January's busy. But if you do attend live, in the chat is always absolutely hilarious. It is a ton of fun. The suppliers, the hosts get in there. I know Stephanie gets in there.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yes, you can absolutely register and we will have them all available live after the fact. Travify session included. We will give you links to those in the resources. You do have to register separately for each coffee spot. So Travify has a coffee spot. So it's like, drink your coffee, open up the day. And it's because we do some fun giveaways during that session and you can only be entered to win if you're registered for that. But we'll give you both links so that you can register for both. But again, everything is complimentary and free of charge for you.
Amazing. See, this industry is the best, everybody,
It
because
really
we
is.
have events like this. It's free. And yes, join, and those will be in the show notes. So go check out all those. These might be the hottest show notes of any episode ever. I mean, there's tons.
Damn
Yes,
straight.
see? Yes, see? I told you this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
But this is awesome. And Shayna, thank you so, so much again for joining me today, for sharing a ton of insight into what advisors should consider before choosing that host agency. And also, have to say, anyone listening, if this episode was helpful, be sure to share it with any other advisor who's navigating those host decisions. And also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode as well. But again, just want to reiterate before we wrap up, mark those calendars and join us for Host Week happening January 26th to the 30th, hosted by Host Agency Reviews. And if you're listening to this after that date, do not worry. You can go check out the recordings. They'll all be available. And of course, everything linked in the show notes as well. So thanks again for spending time with us in the Lounge by Travify. And just stay inspired, keep selling smarter, and we will catch you on the next flight.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much. See you at Host Week.
Yeah, absolutely.